Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to this very important meeting today, Tuesday, July 5th, 2016, in the City of Portsmouth City Council chambers. Y'all had some good food yesterday, didn't you? I see it on y'all face. I did too. All right. I would like to ask Commissioner Thomas to please give invocations and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Thomas.
Sure, thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to just thank you for bringing us to this day and to this meeting, Lord God. We pray for a productive meeting. We pray that we are able to be good stewards over the land you provided us, and please help us do the work for the City of Portsmouth. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, we will now have roll call. Please indicate your presence electronically. Five members of the Planning Commission are present. Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, before you are the minutes of June 7, 2016 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we're in need of a motion. Commissioner Thomas.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from the June 2016 meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. We received the motion, and Chairman needs a second. Commissioner Williams.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
It has been motioned and properly second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second, and you will be voting electronically. The minutes are approved by a vote of 6-0. Announcements of future meetings and conferences. Please note on our next work session is scheduled for Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2016 at 12:30 p.m., 6th floor conference room, followed by public hearing at 1:30 p.m., City Council chamber. Items reviewed today will be presented to City Council for action at their August the 9th, 2016 or August the 23rd, 2016 public hearing, or as otherwise noted. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker of up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. Our first item, UP-16-05, Ebony Heights. Rachel Owens requests a use permit for a family child daycare home at 3511 Pierce Street to care for up to 12 children under the age of 13 years old. The property is further described as Tax Map 827, Parcel 77. The Comprehensive Plan's Generalized Future Land Use Map recommends low to medium density residential development. Our staff coordinator, Stacy Porter.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
City Code requires that family child daycare homes receives a zoning compliance permit. As part of this process, the city's zoning administrator sends notice to adjacent property owners of an applicant's request. If staff does not receive any objections, a zoning compliance permit is issued. If an objection is received, the applicant must proceed through the use permit process, which is the case for the applicant today. And I do want to mention, of course, that there was the 2 letters from the neighbor of objection. The applicant's property is located in the Ebony Heights subdivision, is zoned urban residential UR, and is 9,019 square feet in size. As you can see from the photo on the left of this slide, the property contains a 2-story single-family residence. The property also contains a fenced backyard. The next few slides will show the surrounding area. To the north is single-family residential development, as well as to the east and the south, all in the Ebony Heights subdivision. And to the west is a commercial shopping center. And this is a physical survey of the property. The single-family home is in blue. The applicant has been licensed with the City of Portsmouth to care for up to 5 children at this home since 2009. The applicant has a voluntary license with the State of Virginia. The applicant submitted application requests care for up to 12 children from infancy through 12 years of age. The submitted application indicated that she desires to offer both day and night child care services Monday through Saturday. According to the zoning administrator, neither the applicant's request to offer child care services on Saturdays or overnight are permitted by city code. Portsmouth City Code Section 40.1-4.3b states that operations shall be limited to Monday through Friday, no earlier than 5 a.m. to no later than 8:30 p.m. The issued use permit will be conditioned accordingly. The applicant plans to provide outdoor play in the rear yard, which is fully enclosed with privacy fencing. This facility will be solely run by the applicant. The comprehensive plan's generalized future land use map recommends low to medium density single-family residential development for this parcel. The applicant's home will maintain an exterior appearance of a single-family residence while offering child daycare services internal to the structure. With the conditions proposed, the applicant's request meets the requirement of the zoning ordinance as well as the guidelines for family child daycare homes. Therefore, staff recommends the approval of the applicant's request for a family child daycare home at 3511 Pierce Street. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Commissioners have any questions or comments, Ms. Porter? There being none, thank you, Ms. Porter. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one registered speaker. As I call your name, would you come forward and state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given 5 minutes to speak. Rachel Owens.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. This is my first time. I don't know.
Just state your name. Could you say your name for us, please?
Raquel Owens.
Okay.
I've been doing childcare, and I've enlarged my driveway, and I put a sidewalk on the side of the garage so my parents wouldn't come to the front entrance of the house. I did a fence. I fenced in my backyard. I have heat and air in the garage, and I just wanted to go stay with my child care up to 12 kids.
Gotcha.
Because right now I can only do 5.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Owens? Commissioner Thomas?
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
You operate currently out of the garage of your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what's the approximate square feet footage of that garage? Do you know?
No, ma'am. I don't know the square. I have the survey that they own.
Okay. Do you plan to keep the 12, like to keep your operation in just that space of your home?
For right now.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Did you still need the square footage of the?
No, I have the square footage of the land, but not of the. Do you know the total square foot of the home?
3,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Commissioner G?
Thank you for coming today, Ms. Owens. As a father of 2, I commend you. I could not imagine having that many kids in my house at one time, so hats off to you for that. With some of the concerns that we had that had been brought up to us was really with the ability to maintain orderly conduct for the parents dropping off the kids and everything like that. Yeah. What steps would you plan on taking to ensure that they aren't parking in neighbors' yards and items of that manner?
Yes, I enlarged my driveway, and I don't have but 2 vehicles, so they have enough room to pull in and pull out now. I made it where the white truck at. That's why I enlarged it at. So that used to be grass right there, and it used to be small. So I made it wider. So my childcare can pull in and it's right there on the side where the tree at that they go in. They never use the front door.
A quick question, how long ago did you do that enlargement?
About 8 months ago. I want to say about 8 months ago.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner G. Commissioner Thomas?
Hi, one more question for you. Something we discussed, so the 4 vehicles, you have 2, the 2 in the picture? Are
Yeah.
both of the, okay.
No,
Oh, okay,
that's my daughter's truck.
okay. And do you also have, one of the neighbors mentioned that you had a van. Is that your van that you permanently keep there, or?
Yes, I have a van that I parked on the street.
Okay, so those are your 2 vehicles, the van and the white truck right here?
Yes, but I also have a car. I have
Okay.
3 vehicles. I have 3. I have a truck. I just got the truck, so y'all got to excuse me.
Okay.
I just got her, but I have a car and my van sits on the side of the street this way.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Ms. Owens, I commend you for what you're doing and, taking care of our babies, the future, the people that's coming behind us.
Thank you.
I commend you for that.
I'm
I really
also
do.
a foster parent too.
Go ahead.
I didn't know if that made a difference. I've been a
Well,
foster parent for 5 years and I've been
It
doing
don't make a
child
difference
care.
right here, but it do make a difference. You hear me?
Thank you.
I want to commend you for that, okay?
Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-16-05. If there is anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address UP-16-05, you may come forward at this time, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak.
My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood, and I forgot to sign up for this at the work session. I did have some issues. I have an issue with the city anyway, the silos that we have in the city, especially in the planning department. When there was questions asked, there wasn't social services part of the team to answer some of the questions that were raised. So that's one of the issues. And with that, parking on the street. I know in my neighborhood, when a fella parks on the street and I'm trying to go down the street and his car is on it and 4 cars in the driveway or something like this, and a car, I don't know if it's his, is on the street parking in the opposite direction of where I'm coming. So I was a little concerned about hearing about being parking on the street. The other thing is I'm interested in the my master's in restorative practice and youth counseling, and then when I heard about 12 children, and of course social service is not there to answer any questions about conflict, and I know this is not part of this board, but I just want to say about the conflict when it's happening between the children. So that's all I want to say is, if she wants to have it, fine, but I think I have an issue with the city and the planning department not having people as part of the team that have ways to answer some of the questions. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for your concerns, Ms. Sy. Commissioner G?
Ms. Sy, I can definitely understand where you're coming from on your concerns, but one of the things that we always want to keep in perspective is we are seeing, and the planning department are subject matter experts. Their expertise is in planning and in city codes. If we were to get them, if they were to address the concerns that belong to another department, that would be wrong, and that they could be held liable for that. So when these type of issues come up, they also will be addressed by the planning, by the social services and the other departments that are responsible for those particular areas of expertise. It would be a slippery slope if we expected every department to be able to answer every single question. And I do think that when it involves our babies, we all are a little passionate, and we all want to make sure that things are done right. And for any concerns that you may have in other areas, I encourage you to reach out to those other departments that do handle that.
Thank you, Commissioner G. And also, just to let the audience know, the Planning Commission is a recommending body. We are a recommending body, and whatever we vote on here goes on to council. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. We're just a recommending body. Thank you. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone else who would like to address UP-16-05? You may come forward, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, will there be any further discussion? There being none, Chair is in need of a motion. Commissioner G.
I move for acceptance of UP 16-05.
Chair has received the motion and in need of a second. Commissioner Vaughn.
Second the motion.
It's been motioned and properly second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second, and you will be voting electronically. Did you vote? I don't have him voting.
Hit your blue button. Hit your blue button. There you go.
Okay. This item is approved 4-1. Our next item, UP-16-07, Churchland. The trustees of New Barron Baptist Church request a use permit for a child daycare center at 3200 Bamboo Road. The property is further described as Tax Map 846, Parcel 4. The Comprehensive Plan's General Future Land Use Map recommends institutional public development for the property. Staff Coordinator Stacy Porter.
Again, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The property is located just outside of the Armistead Forest subdivision in Churchland. The property is zoned general residential, GR, is 9.66 acres in size, and contains a one-story church as depicted in the photo on the left of the slide. The next few slides will show only the Armistead Forest subdivision to the south, which is primarily characterized by single-family residential development. To the north and east is the Peachtree subdivision. The city of Suffolk is located to the immediate west. And these are examples of single-family residential development in the Armistead Forest subdivision. And that's another one. This slide shows the proposed location of the applicant's daycare center. This portion of the church is considered the fellowship hall, which will offer 5 classrooms. And this is the floor plan that was submitted by the applicant showing the 5 classrooms. Up to 50 children ages 2.5 to 12 years will be provided care. According to the submitted proposal, the program will offer 1 toddler class, 1 3-year-old class, 1 3 to 5-year-old class, and 2 before and after school care classes. The program will operate Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Parents and guardians will be offered 2 child care options: full-time care between 5 and 10 hours, and part-time care between 1 and 4 hours. Before and after school care hours will be 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. The proposed child care center program will be operated with 10 employees: a program administrator, a receptionist, a van driver, a snack coordinator, 5 teachers, and 1 floating worker. An outdoor play area will be constructed on site. Staff provided a condition that this play area complies with Portsmouth City Code 40.1-4.3. According to the Virginia Department of Social Services, religious-based child care centers are exempt from licensure. According to the submittal, the applicant proposes to accommodate 60 persons. That was 10 staff members and 50 children at the facility. Therefore, the code requires 11 parking spaces. The existing asphalt parking lot, which you'll see here in the next couple of slides, contains 74 parking spaces, allowing the facility to more than meet their parking requirement. And that was that second slide. Staff finds that the applicant's proposal meets the recommendation of the comprehensive plan, which recommends institutional public development. A child care center is a type of institutional use. With the conditions proposed, the applicant's request meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance, as well as the guidelines for child daycare centers. Therefore, planning staff recommends the approval of the use permit request for a child daycare center at 3600 Bamboo Road. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Porter? There being none, thank you, Ms. Porter. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have several speakers. As I call your name, would you come forward, state your name and your address for the record? First speaker is Irma Curtis Evans.
Good afternoon, Planning Council. My name is Irma Curtis Evans, 6303 Townsend Place in Suffolk, and I'm here representing the New Berean Baptist Church in hope to develop and design a New Berean Christian Academy with your permission. And I'm here to answer any additional questions that you may have concerning the daycare. To my left stands Janice Mann, and she will be our proposed director for the New Berean Christian Academy. So if you have any questions, we will entertain those at this time.
Good. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Williams?
It's been a long time since I've seen you. Just for the record, Ms. Curtis taught at Portsmouth Public Schools for many years, and actually was my son's gifted teacher.
Absolutely.
Not going to tell you how old he is now.
Please don't.
Good seeing you again.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? With that being said, I commend the great work and good work you all doing. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Sherry Lampkin.
Hello, my name is Sherry Lampkin, and I'm a long-term resident of Armstead Forest. We have a good relationship with the church, and in no means do I mean to make irrepair with it. But as a long-term resident, I have had the unique experience. I've grown up in that neighborhood and have come back to live. Our neighborhood has seen an ebb and flow of, when I was younger, everyone was there. It was fully manned in the houses, and then there was a lull, and there were several houses that were left vacant. As now, there are very few houses left vacant, and in fact, it's turned around, and we have young families coming in with young children. The current concerns, I have gone through the neighborhood because we weren't really provided with very much information. This is the first I've heard. I did have concerns about what the license capacity would be. One of the things that I used to do was I was a program director for the YMCA, so I'm very knowledgeable about childcare, and I do. It is a very important thing. However, it comes into a residential area where we have it's a very small, quiet neighborhood. We have two ways of getting in: Magnolia and Bamboo. With the new families that are coming in, they have small children. Things that I did when I was younger was learn how to ride my bike. I don't know what the plans for the traffic to come in and how that'll be controlled with speed. I can tell you many of the concerns. I do not have children of my own, but many of the residents that there's things that when I went around, they indicated on Sundays they just don't allow their children out in the front yard to play. We did have one neighbor that had put a little Tykes slow down traffic sign. She indicated that, and I did see it would get knocked down. They don't mean ill will, but when it gets to be 10:59 and church starts at 11, the increase for need to get there, you can see the traffic goes quicker. So the increase of traffic is a concern. I don't know how that'll mean. I know it's a use permit, but what does that mean? Will it open up if the church goes away? Is that now a business? We are residential. We want to stay a residential area. And how does that affect? Because they live on the end of our residence, and there's no other way to get in. There's a protected marshland all the way around behind, so there's no other way to make any other openings. The other concern that we have, particularly for the residents that live on my end, anytime that there has been development near us, even on the Suffolk end, it has caused some flooding because it is on the end of a marsh area. We already have some pooling of water in the driveway areas because there's just lack of stormwater management through there. Debris gets trapped in the marsh and it backs up into the roads, and that end has gotten to be more problematic for that. So these are concerns that, as I've gone through with the residents, of how that'll impact us. Again, I will say we've been good residents and neighbors with each other. I know and wave to many of the parishioners. I can see where it's good for them, but on the opposite side, for us as residents that want to keep the integrity of our neighborhood, it just is not a positive thing that we see as far as the traffic increase and how that'll be handled and the impact of our families that are coming in to revitalize our neighborhood. We want to keep our property and our neighborhood going strong. And with that type of traffic coming in and out, and then if it's 50 now, what will it be later? These are the things that we as the residents of Armstead Forest.
Yeah, like 56 seconds left, Ms. Lamb.
That's it. And the only thing I would say is to implore you to think that if it was in your neighborhood, like I said, if there were other ways of going in and out, it might not be as big a concern, but when they have to go through the whole neighborhood, that does impact us as residents. And we do love them. They've been very good with us, and that has nothing to do with that. It has just everything to do with how it'll impact our neighborhood.
Question for you, Ms. Lampkin. Do you have, in your residence, do they have speed signs up?
Have we requested?
Are they up? Are speed signs up within your community, the residential speed
There are
signs?
not. It's been a very quiet neighborhood,
Gotcha, okay.
with the exception of Town Point Road that has just boomed and now it's become like an interstate down there. But our neighborhood it's this,
Gotcha.
and it's very quiet. The busiest time it gets is on Sundays, and
That's understandable.
That's just us.
Okay, gotcha. Mr. Baldwin, how could we address that issue, not having a speed sign up in the neighborhood? You know, they usually have like 25, 50, you know.
Well, we could certainly discuss the neighborhood concerns with the city
Okay.
traffic engineer.
Gotcha. All right, yes, sir. Okay. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Ms. Lampkin? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes, actually, the question is for Mr. Baldwin also. So one of the points that she just brought up was the fact that this daycare opening at the church would increase the traffic. So you said, is there a possibility to have like a traffic impact study done or something? Because
We could certainly discuss that with the traffic engineer, but the volume of traffic here is so low, it doesn't trip the code mandated thresholds. He'd have to make a determination. There's a concern for that. This is a very, if you compare the traffic on a Sunday, which was part of the conversation was here today, this is weekday, this is Monday through Friday daycare traffic. The amount of traffic, quite frankly, would be similar to what you'd see if that property was developed into houses back there,
Gotcha.
rather than
Okay.
what it is. I mean, in terms of, in fact, it's probably maybe even a bit lower than if there were houses
Okay.
back there. But we could certainly, again,
No,
ask the city traffic engineer if he thinks it's something worth looking into.
No, that's a good
But we do have
comparison. Thank you.
requirements in our zoning code about when we require traffic impact analysis, and this is well below the requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioners?
But there are other points too, the flooding, that is a viable point for someone who lives on that end, so don't forget those when you make your decision. So
Okay.
they need to be addressed as well. Because anytime anything has been built, we've felt the impact of that.
Okay. Commissioner G?
I actually did bring up the point, because one of the things that they mentioned was adding additional playgrounds and everything like that. But we aren't looking at any construction at this point, based on what's here. They're going to be using the existing facilities to facilitate the kids. And then in some of the pictures we have, because one of my concerns was the wetlands, and if when they did the recreational facilities, if it would be pushing back there, but it looks like it's already on some of the cleared land. And for most recreational facilities, I don't foresee them building anything expansive, no gymnasiums or anything like
Right.
that. But I think they're just looking
Just
at like a
depends
playground.
on how absorbable, well, right now it's cleared land that the water does absorb into the ground. If you build any kind of surface that the water's not allowed to, then there is runoff.
Yeah, and having served in Parks and Rec, most playground facilities are built so that the water, so it's elevated and the water subsides, correctly built, the water would subside
I'm
below.
not given any information, so
Right,
these are our
understood.
concerns.
Yeah, understood. And we do appreciate those, and I'm sure the planning department will look at those. And again, we're a recommending body, so this will go on beyond us to be addressed.
Thank you, Commissioner G. Anything else from Mr. Lampkin? Commissioners? There being none, thank you, Mr. Lampkin. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Clifford Kalmbach.
Good afternoon. My name is Clifford Kalmbach, and I live at 3702 Magnolia Drive. Could you put the first picture up that showed the layout from above? Okay, there's a couple of questions I have. I was kind of curious as to the previous applicant and the minutes or the advertisement for the project. They had everything that you pretty much needed to know. How many children they wanted to keep, the address, the ages of the children. And I noticed this request was it had no information really at all. That's one reason why I showed up here. Can the Planning Commission tell me how many daycare facilities there are in Churchland already?
I have no idea. That's a good question. I have no idea, sir.
Okay.
That's kind of out of my jurisdiction.
Well, I mean, if this is a case of build it and they will come, it'd be nice to know if there was a need for it. From the ladies that represented the church, I got the information that they want to keep 50 children and 10 employees. So from the hours of 6 in the morning to 6 at night. So there again, if you'll move to the next photograph that shows the street. Okay, yeah, that's, can you go to the previous photograph? Okay, well, that's my mailbox right there. But as you can see, there is parking on the street, and there are a lot of children down in the area where those vehicles are. And so if everybody drove, so then with 50 children and their parents coming to get them and 10 employees, so you're looking at an additional 60 cars daily at 6 in the morning and at 6 at night. And that way, in the other picture, it's the only two ways in there. I've lived in Portsmouth pretty much all my life, and if you notice things about churches, most churches are built on major thoroughfares. They're not tucked in the very back of basically two roads that dead end, and it's a field, but it could be a cul-de-sac, it could be anything. Most churches aren't set up like that, buried in the back of a neighborhood. I mean, if you go through anywhere, downtown, anywhere, Rodman Avenue, most churches, the majority of them are on major thoroughfares. They're not buried back in a small residential area like this. The ladies said that they were going to build some sort of a outdoor play yard or playground equipment, which is going to increase the noise in the area. Not that I'm against children having fun, but I don't know if anybody's been made aware of the wildlife situation out there, but to the whole left of the church, basically the Suffolk area, is all wooded, and there are foxes. There are foxes that I see their eyes in the headlights as you go into the entrance to the church driveway. And the other day I did see a raccoon carrying a rat in his mouth. So I'm concerned for whatever outdoor equipment and children that they have.
You have 45 seconds left, sir.
But I would really like to know if there's a need for this daycare operation. If I'm not sure what the regulations are for how many children you can keep without having to have a permit or go through this process. But if people have had to go through this process in the Churchland area, then the Planning Commission should be able to tell us how many daycare centers there already are in Churchland. Thank you very much, and for the record, I am opposed to this project.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner G?
Speaking as the father of two, and in regards to the need for daycares, honestly, we can never have enough at this rate. And as a testament to your community and your area, there's a building boom. So you have more and more houses being built, which brings hopefully more and more families to our communities. And that in turn means they need somewhere for those kids to be watched during the day. In this day and age, you have many households where both parents are working and the kids are too young to go into the public schools. So daycare is the only option. I mean, I have a 18-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. Neither one can go in public schools right now, but they both are in need of daycare. They happen to go in a daycare in Norfolk, near where my wife works. So it's not necessarily just who lives there. It's also who works in that community. That's what was most convenient for us. I wish there was a daycare like the one my kids attend now, closer, that would be more convenient. So that many times you have to take into those factors as well. You have the simulation facilities, you have the ODU Tri-City Center, you have a lot of large businesses coming to that general area, and that also will build into the need for daycare in those areas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner G. Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on UP-16-07. If there's anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address UP-16-07, you may come forward at this time, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak.
Mark Gaduldig-Yatrovsky, P.O. Box 50141, Portsmouth. Excuse the shades. I'm trying to avoid process server. Actually, I got here just on the cusp and didn't remember to switch glasses before I exited my car. I would like to suggest to the first speaker that there might be a neighbor-to-neighbor solution to this that doesn't involve government at all. She stated that there was a long-standing good relationship between the neighborhood and the church. Since the spokespeople for this project from the church are in the room, I would suggest that they introduce themselves to each other and set up some sort of ad hoc committee between the neighborhood and the church to discuss the traffic issue and see if there isn't some way to emphasize to people who come to church on Sunday and to the people who would be using the daycare facility that it is a neighborhood and they need to be mindful of maintaining appropriate speeds. I think that would be the best route to go at the outset. Another idea that our neighbors in West Parkview use, they have found some signs commercially available that say, "Drive like your children live here." And they've posted those in various high-traffic areas of West Parkview. But I think people forget that basic interpersonal communication can resolve a lot of matters that government can only do clumsily. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Commissioners, any comments, questions? There being none, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone else who would like to address UP-16-07? Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, any other discussion? There being none, Chair is in need of a motion. Commissioner Vaughn.
I make a motion that we pass UP 16-7.
Chair has received the motion. Chair is in need of a second. Commissioner Thomas.
I second that motion.
There's been motion and properly second. Madam Secretary.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, before you vote.
Yes, sir.
Can we get a clarification on the motion that that includes the recommended conditions as well?
Yes. Commissioner Vaughn.
I'm not aware of the recommend. Are you talking the marshland behind the church, the playground?
Talking about the conditions that were listed in the staff report.
With the conditions listed in the staff report.
I want to see them first. Okay. I recommend that we approve 16-07 along with the recommended suggestions. Conditions. Ready.
Chair has received the motion. Chair is in need of a second. Commissioner Thomas.
I second that motion.
There's been motion and properly second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve UP-1607 with the recommending conditions. You may vote electronically. This item is approved 5-0. Our next item, UP-16-08, Cavalier Manor. Ashley Scott, representing Herman and Kitty Properties, Inc., is requesting a use permit to construct 280 multifamily apartment units and 22 buildings on approximately 13.8 acres located at 4358 Greenwood Drive. The property is zoned urban residential high URH, and the density of the development proposed would be 20.3 dwellings unit to the acre. The property is owned by C.B. Richard Ellis of Virginia, Inc., CBRE, and designated on the city's comprehensive plan future land use map for multifamily residential uses. The property is also referenced as tax parcel 0559-0010. Our staff coordinator is Jonathan Hartley. Staff, with the concurrence of the applicant, has deemed this application incomplete, and this application will tentatively be scheduled for the August the 2nd, 2016 Planning Commission meeting. Our next item is Z-16-01, Craddock and West Craddock. Eric Charay with NVR Inc. and Ryan Holmes is requesting to amend the proffered conditions for the Afton Green located on the former site of Craddock High School at 4300 George Washington Highway, which is zoned urban residential master planned overlay with conditions UR-MPOK and contains approximately 40.6 acres The amendments proposed are to enlarge the proposed lots, reduce the number of units from 200 lots to 172 lots, to reduce the on-slab height from 18 inches to 10 inches, to change the housing designs from a mix of front and rear-loaded garages to all front-loaded garages, and to modify the overall house design as submitted. The current density allowed is 4.93 dwelling units per acre, while the proposed density is 4.24 units per acre. The property is owned by Craddock Properties, and the City of Portsmouth is also referenced as the tax parcel 0461-0080 and 458-0010. Staff Coordinator, Jonathan Hartley.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this is a request, as the Secretary just read, to amend the proffered conditions on a rezoning that was actually approved back in, originally back in 2012, 2011, and it pertains to the property most of us would call the Craddock High School site. This property was rezoned for essentially this development, Afton Green, as I said, back in 2011. On the screen is a tax map showing the property. It now consists of 4 parcels, which are consistent with the phasing numbers that have been set up for the development of the property. It fronts on George Washington Highway. The high school that used to be there has been demolished, and most of the debris that's remains has been removed from the property. There are 4 phases in the project. Essentially, they're broken down into phase 1 and 2 as one piece of the project, and then 3 and 4 as essentially the second piece of the project. To the east is Craddock. To the west is West Craddock. And then to the south is the Williams Court 2 shopping center. These are just a couple of pictures of the existing site. They were actually taken this morning, so they're real current. The picture on the bottom left is actually a photo of phase 1, whereas the picture on the upper right gives you an idea of the stately trees that are along George Washington Highway. As I said, this project was originally approved in 2011. It was zoned from urban residential and preservation government, since it was a school, to urban residential with a master plan overlay with conditions for up to 200 detached single-family residences. In 2013, there were some minor amendments that were revisions that were approved, primarily related to the stormwater management pond that was at the second entrance, the southernmost entrance, as well as some minor design changes that were approved by City Council. Ryan Holmes expressed an interest in this project and has been working on this application with staff and their development team since December of 2015. This is the layout of that's currently on the books, and it consists of 200 lots. And the project was designed as essentially a front load and rear load, 50% front load, 50% rear load homes. And by that I mean that essentially the garage that's on the property in a front load enters from the street, whereas a rear load enters from an alley, a system of alleys that were to be built throughout the project. Ryan Holmes, and I'll get to all of the issues, but Ryan Holmes has expressed a desire to build only front-load houses, meaning that the alley system that was originally designed is no longer necessary. So the key changes that are proposed. Ryan Holmes is proposing to increase the minimum lot sizes from 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, and the lot widths from 40 to 50 square feet. They're proposing to reduce the number of lots from 200 to 172 lots. They're proposing to build all front-loaded homes, i.e. Garages accessed from the public streets. They're proposing to modify the house designs and materials to a more contemporary style. They're proposing to eliminate the alleys and scattered open spaces that were previously proposed throughout the project, and they're proposing to reduce the slab height. They're building on slab. The current development standards calls for an 18-inch raised slab. What's proposed is a 10-inch raised slab. Just to explain those, this is the proposed plan. There are now, as I said, 172 lots. The alleys have been removed from the plan, and as well as a number of scattered open spaces, and there's a map that follows this that shows where those are. What they are retaining are the stately trees along George Washington Highway. All of the houses that are built will face George Washington Highway, with the exception of a small group in the lower right-hand corner. And again, I'll mention those again in a minute. The house designs proposed are similar to the ones on the screen in the development guidelines that you've received a copy of. This also extends to the window designs, shutters, the garage doors, etc. More of the details than certainly what's on the screen. And there are also additional house elevations that are in the development guidelines, but this is just a sampling of those. This is a map of the alleys that will be removed. It's a fairly extensive alley system. I would say that staff has been supportive of this, since all of the homes would be front-loaded at this point. Staff also had discussions with Ryan Holmes about eliminating some of the scattered open spaces, and each of the stars that are on this particular map represent some small piece of open space that was proposed that is now incorporated into the lots themselves. Staff encouraged this as a way of reducing the number of the acreage and the number of spot parcels around the development that would have to be maintained by the homeowners association. Some of those were even in locations that were, quite frankly, undesirable to have as open space, such as spaces behind houses that had very few eyes on them, if any eyes. So it's a consolidation of the lots, which staff believes is a better layout, certainly more functional for future residents, and less costly for the homeowners association to maintain. There are a number of proffered conditions, as we have with the proposal that was previously approved. We have design guidelines and a conceptual layout that are both proffered as conditions. There was a traffic study done back in 2011 that indicated that there would need to be signal improvements and intersection improvements at Afton Park Highway, and as well as turn lane improvements into the southern entrance. Maintaining the stately trees along the frontage is included as a condition. Something that we try to encourage applicants to do is to prohibit the same house and color either next to each other or across the street to maintain a bit of diversity within the development pattern. And then there are 5 lots that actually will have the backs of the lots facing George Washington Highway, and the applicant has agreed to have additional screening at the back of those lots so that they would be screened from George Washington Highway. Just as kind of a footnote, during the work session, I did distribute a revised copy of the development guidelines. And essentially, the only difference between the copy you received in your packets and this copy is that the developer, Harrison Lear, who is no longer involved in the project, has been removed from that document. It continues to be Ryan Holmes as the primary applicant. With that, that concludes my presentation, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hartley. Commissioners, any questions, comments from Mr. Hartley? There being none, thank you, Mr. Hartley.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several speakers for this item. As I call your name, will you come forward, state your name and your address, and you'll be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is Donna Sy.
Good afternoon. My name is Donna Sy, and I live at 3104 Garland Drive in Portsmouth. One of my concerns is this. I was raised on the farm in Stony Creek, Virginia. Back in those days, everything was done by hand. We kept busy. We either worked in the fields or we worked in the house. There was always something to do. What I'm finding now, living in Portsmouth and seeing everybody's depending on the Parks and Recreation Center to keep all the children busy. And I have a great concern that we don't have anything for children to do work. So when I saw this plan to build this home complex, I was thinking that maybe there needs to be a community garden so that people would have something to do besides running down the road or running to the exercise place, and actually teach children how to start being resourceful and taking care of things and providing food for themselves. So that's what I was thinking about. How can we start thinking about community by working together, by planting and harvesting food and canning or freezing things? That was one thing. The other thing I was thinking about is a little local playground or something for the community to go instead of having to drive to a recreation center. So that's what I'm thinking about. How can we build community? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, as a older adult, my needs aren't being met in this city. Why? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So in my figuring out, I'm thinking, what can we do to help a community that's being built, to bring back a community of working together and having results where we can be resourceful and take care of ourselves. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Sy. Commissioners, any comments or questions for Ms. Sy? Commissioner G.
Ms. Sy, having grown up on the farms myself and picked a little bit of tobacco in my day, I definitely understand the joy that comes in hard work. And I did bring this up in regards to the parks and rec and just outdoor space in the earlier session. And the way it was explained to me is some of that does not go necessarily into the building, into this phase, but it's determined by the community itself. And I believe the team from Ryan Homes can speak on this when they get up later. But I would encourage you to look at our Parks and Rec program. As a past chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, and we actually do have programming available that specializes in actually horticulture and growing of flowers and plants, and that's really underutilized. There's some great resources here in the city that many of us, for one reason or another, and I wouldn't say it's our fault necessarily, it's something that we can all agree the city needs to improve, is the communication side of those things that are available for us. So I do echo your concerns, and I think that they can speak on this slightly better than I can later.
Thank you, Commissioner G. Commissioners, any other comments or questions? There being none, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Krista Black.
Hello, my name is Krista Black. I've been a long-time resident of West Craddock. I have been through a lot. Since I moved there, it was a thriving community with a school that was running great. Later on, I looked at a blighted building. Then finally, they tore Craddock High School down. It was really rough living back there, and it still is. But I hung in there. I love my home. I love my neighborhood, and I welcome Ryan Homes. I'm so excited. We are ready for some positive, wonderful changes there. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Black. Commissioners, anything? There being none, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Bob Mills.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Robert Mills. I live at 213 Bellhaven Road. I live 3 houses from Krista, and we've been waiting for this project for 7 years now. And this is the first time we've actually seen somebody come in and take this property and do what they're supposed to have done 3 years ago. And we're looking forward to this new development. It's going to restart West Craddock and Craddock. This whole project will. I'm looking at, because right now people come down from the south end of Chesapeake. They don't come down past the old Craddock property. They turn a left at Victory and go down the interstate and get on the interstate. This development will attract people to actually come down and look at it and say, hey, there's houses being built there. The property's finally being used. And like I told the gentleman Ryan, this environmental park we built back, the stormwater park that was built with ODU students and a group from the community and the Craddock Lions Club helped build that park. So we know what we're doing. It was just let go over the years because of the city and the ODU, certain parts of ODU environmental. They were involved in this. They helped plant all this, and they helped design it. So I'm looking forward to working with Ryan Homes, and this is going to help start us again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mills. Commissioners, anything for Mr. Mills here? There being none, thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Mark Yadaldi-Yatrowski.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair, honorable commissioners, and fellow citizens.
Good afternoon.
I defer to my neighbors from Craddock who spoke before me in terms of my comments on the project. I have one concern, and I discussed it with Mr. Mills yesterday. The reduction of the slab. The building level from 18 inches to 10 inches on the slab concerns me. I had the honor of serving on an ad hoc task force last year relating to the new flood regulations that the federal government has imposed and the impacts on flood insurance rates within the city and across the country. As you all have no doubt heard, we are in an era of rising sea levels and subsiding land. And so I'm deeply concerned in the city of Portsmouth about those living in low-lying areas, but those living in every area across the city, because Portsmouth is one of the topographically lowest areas along the East Coast. Now, in the 20 years that I've lived in Portsmouth, I've yet to see a Category 3 hurricane, and I wouldn't mind going another 20 years without seeing one. But in addition to the rising waters, the water temperature in the oceans has been rising as well. Hurricanes feed off warm water. And so as the water gets progressively warmer in the northern latitudes, we are likely to see storms of a greater intensity than we've seen historically. I've used the geographic, I'm missing the next term, but the geographic system that our city provides the tool, and have looked at the city in various storm surge scenarios. Well, at Category 3, there isn't much of the city of Portsmouth that isn't under some amount of water. And I think that it is irresponsible in this time of rising sea level, warming oceans, not to give the homeowners the best break possible. Our current ordinances require 18 inches of freeboard. And those folks who would buy a new home in this proposed development deserve that 18-inch buffer against water intruding into their homes. So I would urge you to stick to the original specification and approve this with an 18-inch freeboard requirement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Commissioners, any comments or questions? There being none, thank you, Mark. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Eric Shuray. Let's do it. Okay.
Good afternoon. We wanted to thank the Planning Commission for your consideration today. I'm Eric Shirey, the land manager for Ryan Homes and the applicant. To my left and to your right is Jesse Faison, the division manager for Ryan Homes. I wanted to come up and address some of the concerns that were brought up today, as well as answer any other questions that might be lingering after going through John's presentation. And first, again, wanted to thank the staff. They've done a great job working with us. We've worked with the Redevelopment Authority, got to meet with Dr. Patton and gain their consent. And this is our first project in Portsmouth, and it's been a great experience thus far. I also wanted to thank the community of Craddock for coming out today in large support. We've been to their civic leagues, and it's it's good to see they're very passionate about their community, and that's the type of communities that we like to build in. To address some of the concerns that were brought up today, starting with the first speaker, and making sure that we're thinking about promoting that active lifestyle within the community. There will be an HOA that will, in a way, govern the community, and the members are homeowners as they move in. When the community is 75% complete, will take over their own association. We're home builders. We don't like to, stay around and tell them how to manage their own community. We build it to the best standard that we can, and they'll take over from there. Within that association, they'll be able to discuss as a community and hopefully communicate with the Civic League and join the bigger picture over there at Craddock on if a playground's necessary, what type of fiscal impact that would have as far as their HOA dues. What we don't want to do is predetermine how much to spend on that. I think that is for the community to decide. And the second concern brought up today, I think, is more of a miscommunication with the floodplain. As we begin design with the consent of Planning Commission and City Council, we'll start the design of the site plans. As we reduce our slab height from 18 inches to 10, we are actually not reducing the freeboard. What we're reducing is what's exposed out of the ground. We require from our general contractors who are putting the infrastructure in for us that it be a certified compacted pad. It's the best way to build homes these days. So it's unnecessary to dig down as deep as the older homes were, and also unnecessary to come up that high. To address the freeboard, we go off of FEMA, a federal agency, sets exactly where the floodplain is, and I think it is 8.5 over there at Afton Green. So not only will our finished floor elevation meet the FEMA requirement, but also what the gentleman referenced as the freeboard, but an additional 18 inches above that. We will be meeting those guidelines, and that's standard. As we get into design, our pads, those certified pads I was talking about, we'll be raising those with fill to where the homes are out of those. So although exposed foundation is not as great, the actual home will be higher in meeting those standards. In saying that, we're here today to answer any of your questions with, again, those two concerns or anything else that you guys might have today.
Commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Thomas?
Hi. Sorry. Hi. Thank you. I know for myself, I'm excited that this property is finally being developed as well. I have a question as far as the designs that were presented in the package. Are those final designs for what the homes will look like?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know. Because I was noticing that there were just no front porches on any of them. They're just like kind of doorways, except for one design. This one right here kind of has a front porch. I was just thinking about the older Craddock, how the homes are designed. Was there any type of plan to kind of tie those communities together design-wise or so forth?
It's a good question, and actually that was one that came up during our civic meetings. To making sure there was that blend, and that is when we do consider that a front porch or 6 feet of depth there and covered, and that's when we went back and made sure that we added that as an option for our customers to select that, and of course, depending on how many are selected, to make that good transition there.
Can you guys space them out based on how many customers select that design, right? Okay.
Yeah, and that actually goes into what John alluded to earlier with making sure there's good diversity among the product.
Okay.
That we can't have we won't have the same home that looks the same on the front facing each other or right next to.
Okay.
So if there's one without a front porch, we know lots maybe across to will become limited.
Okay.
And that should allow for more homes with those front porch options to be selected.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner G?
My question doesn't really impact on the planning side, but with the anticipation of this, do you guys have a timeline for when construction will start? I know this has been a long delayed project, so people are looking forward to it.
Yes, it is, and we're looking forward to getting started as soon as we can as well. Again, provided the consent through today in City Council, we will start a site plan amendment with the planning staff that we anticipate taking about 2 to 3 months into the fall and even the winter, and getting under construction with the community the earlier part of next year, and actually the construction of the homes come spring.
Thank you, Commissioner G. Any more questions or comments? Thank you both, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item Z-16-01. If there is anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and you would like to address this application, you may come forward at this time, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Conrad Yetter. I live at 507 Finchley Road, which is right at the top corner of that development. So my question, I didn't realize that it was being developed by a different company, and I raised this issue with the previous company. My yard has a tendency, and it's gotten worse over the last, let's say, 2 years. Whenever it rains, it floods out. So that hadn't happened for quite a while. And they brought truckload of dirt in there and basically raised the entire level of the area number 1, probably 6 or 8 inches, and it seemed to have made that worse. I was just curious as to if there was any concern of addressing the flooding that already occurs in there, because I can't raise my house up 18 more inches to meet those requirements. So that's my concern.
So I guess your question is to the developer?
Yes.
Come on, Ms. Ryan.
If I'm allowed, I don't know, am I allowed to ask them a question?
Yes, you can. I'll bring them up. You were trying to get in.
Also a good question and a good concern. I know the city of Portsmouth, as you analyze the topography, that it is a lower lying city. We will be, I mean, this is across the board, not just with the planning staff with Portsmouth, but as we get into those site plan design, we'll be working with engineers through the city as well as those that we hire on our end to make sure as we raise pads, they'll do their calculations on grade of where to redirect water, create swales. That is all taken into account in the planning process with the city. I don't foresee any problems as we move forward, just because I know that item is covered thoroughly in the site plan process.
Gotcha. Okay. And while I got you right here, he answered your question, sir? Did he answer your question?
I'll let you know.
Okay. Yes, sir. All right. Awesome. Okay. While I have you here, what is the price point on these homes?
Yes, I actually just had a side discussion on that as well.
Okay.
But our to start with square feet and then into price point, we're looking to offer homes from 1,400 square feet the whole way up to 2,300 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
The smallest of the 4 or 5 floor plans that we're offering with base options will most likely come to market around 200 somewhere, and we don't have costs in line to predict next spring whether that's just under or just over, but I think that's a good estimate. Okay. And we offer bigger floor plans. They'll be able to upgrade kitchens, upgrade the front of their homes to where what we call an out-the-door price, but after everything's done and the closing price on the home, well into the mid-200s.
Okay.
That's at the 1,400 square foot rate or the 2,400?
That would be, again, working with just estimates, that would be the bigger one, say the one at 2,300 square feet with options, again, anticipated to end up in the mid-200s.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? There be none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone else who would like to address Z-16-01?
My name's Kenneth Carey. I live at 221 Derby Road. And what are they going to do about traffic control on George Washington and Derby with the extra people? Because right now, sometimes busy times, it gets hard to get out.
1 second. Mr. Hartley, can you speak to that?
The traffic study that was done in 2011 indicated there needed to be a turn lane in off of George Washington going south and a left turn lane going north in and out of Derby. So those are the intersection improvements that are proposed at Derby.
Okay. And right now, there's a large body of water that's sitting on the school property. It's been there for weeks.
Say that part again, sir.
There's a large body of water in the parking lot of the old Craddock High School. And breeding ground for mosquitoes.
Okay.
And I mean, it's just, and then another issue, which is just an issue, it's not nothing. They tore up the ball field and then didn't do anything with it.
You talking about on the former property of the Craddock High School?
Right, it's on the north.
That's part of the development. That's why they tore it down. And I know they're using the one in Craddock, if I'm not mistaken, back there by the middle school now. They're using that thing for the baseball fields. So that's what's being used now, and they talked about that, way back when they was trying to get all this together.
But they plowed it all up, and then they didn't do a thing with the property.
Well, that's why they're here now, sir.
I mean, and that's all I've got. It's just that, and well, that's a trash issue that the city doesn't want clean up the property. I mean, they got tall grass and everything on the property, and they come and mow it when they want to, I think.
Okay.
But yet they'll tell me to mow my grass when it gets over 9 inches tall.
Okay.
I mean, and then there's people dump stuff there and they won't pick it up. I've talked to the bulk truck driver.
You got a smartphone?
No.
Okay.
I'm not that
well, it ain't sometimes. Well, all I'm gonna say is this: if and it's just in my opinion, if you're that concerned, and when I see things, sometimes I record it and I take pictures. You can even ask Planner, I bring it to him and show it to him. Say we got a problem.
All right.
And that's just one thing I could tell you as a citizen. You can do as a right as a citizen. You do have a concern, and you're coming to express it today because you live there.
And then the flooding on Derby Road it rains hard. It goes clear across the street, almost up to the sidewalks.
Okay.
And then they come out there with a vacuum truck one time when it was raining and walked over to the storm drain and looked and then left. Didn't do a thing about it.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? There being none, Madam Secretary, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone else who would like to address Z-16-01? Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, any other discussions or comments on this item? There being none, Chair's in need of a motion. Commissioner G.
I move for acceptance of Z-16-01. Are there conditions on this one? With proffers, right, with proffers.
Yeah. Thank you. Chair's received the motion. Chair's in need of a second. Commissioner Vaughn.
Second that.
Okay. It has been properly motioned and second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve Z-16-01 with proffers. You may vote electronically. This item is approved 5-0.
Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today.
That is correct.
Commissioners, will there be any further business? There being none, Mr. Baldwin, is there any further business, sir?
No, Mr. Chairman, I have nothing.
Hearing none, this meeting is now adjourned.